This is a palace. It's going to be quite a luxurious camp, this one. Oh, now that is proper comfy. Thank you for joining me on another little camp out. It's a really steady one today. It's going to be more about cooking, more specifically cooking inside a tent. So the general consensus is it's not the best idea to cook inside your tent. There are a number of reasons for this. Whenever you've got a stove lit, obviously you're generating heat or a flame, and all of these lightweight materials are highly flammable. So if you touch the outside of your fly or the inner with your stove, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And this is a chance to go up in flames pretty quickly. One of the other reasons is these stoves do give off some emissions. And the nasty one that poisons you is carbon monoxide. So depending which kind of stove you're using, it's going to give off a different amount of carbon monoxide. So gas canister stoves actually give off very little carbon monoxide. But if you're in a small space like a tent, those fumes can potentially build up, so you do need to be careful. So I'm going to be cooking a slap-up meal inside this tent today. Pan-seared lamb steak and salsa verde from HelloFresh. And I'll show you some of the precautions that I take to make sure that I cook safely when I'm in a tent. So most backpacking meals tend to be dehydrated. You just pour boiling water into them, or you can get some that you boil in the bag. The good thing about these is they're lightweight and they do a job when it comes to giving you some energy quickly just by pouring water in them. However, nothing beats a proper cooked meal. And if you watch the channel, you know that I like to cook a steak, pork chops, salmon fillets, all those kind of things. Sometimes it means you need to bring a few extra things though, like a frying pan, maybe a bit of cooking oil. These little bottles, by the way, are made by Nalgene, and this one's got steak seasoning in it. They're brilliant for taking small quantities of seasoning, powdered milk. Got one for my sugar. Anyway, so let's take a look at what we've got for tea tonight. So HelloFresh, they contacted me a few months back and said, would you like to try some of our meals and could we possibly sponsor you for a couple of videos? If you don't know who HelloFresh are, they're a subscription meal service where you can order meals to be delivered to your home. You get to choose from around 44 different ones each month. All delicious. They send you all of the ingredients in the correct quantities, so you can get meals from as little as £3.15 a portion, which is brilliant for food of this quality. And I'll show you just how good they are. So there's loads of different, I'll say genres of meals. So they can have quick cook ones with things only take about 20 minutes to half an hour. They've got meat-free ones, they've got protein-rich ones. You can choose for whatever suits your needs, really. I'd already cooked me carrots in half at home. Right, that's the veg chopped. I was using a really sharp knife, so make sure you've got your first aid kit with you. And I've got a proper chopping board as well. We don't be cutting through the material of the tent. So every meal comes with all of the nutritional information, and there's a step-by-step instruction. Get the stove set up. Just going to parboil the carrots and the taters, and then I'm going to shallow fry them just to give them that little sort of roasted sensation. Right, so before I light the stove up, you need to make sure that you've got adequate ventilation. So this tent, it's got a really big vestibule. There is gaps along the bottom. There's a really big vent here. And I've also opened the side a little bit as well. So it's a good idea to keep your lid on. That will try and keep most of the steam inside your pot, because you are going to get extra condensation on your tent when you're cooking in it as well. So if you can cook outside, it is much better for keeping your gear dry and your tent inner dry. I'm going to let that just do its thing. Right, so the next job is to make the salsa verde. So things like mint and coriander, they actually supply in the right quantities, so you've not got to go buying herbs and spices and things. Right, so I've got to take the leaves off the stalks. So I've never cooked this before. That's another good thing about this, is that, you know, if I was at home, we'd just have a lamb steak, maybe some chips with it. We wouldn't be eating salsa verdes and capers, things like that. So, you know, it's opening our palate to new types of food, and it's really, really tasty. This says finely chop. Finally took the end of my finger off there, I think. Chop the capers. I don't even know if I've eaten capers before. A spoon of Dijon mustard. Again, that's been supplied. Smidgen of olive oil. I don't know if that's what a salsa verde is supposed to look like. A little bit of seasoning. It says salt and pepper, but I've only bought this. Just gonna add these little bits of tender stem broccoli. It's time to cook the lamb. Right, so this is my Thermo Cafe thermos flask. I find this a brilliant way to transport meat, keep it cold. Right, we'll set them to one side. So when you put in hot pots and pans down, do not put it onto your footprint of your tent, or don't go touching the fly sheet. I've just put it on the ground there, so it's not going to damage anything. Quick check in. So a little bit of oil in the pan, season the lamb with salt and pepper, medium rares 8 to 10 minutes. Finishing touches now. Let's get that in. A little bit of coriander. It says to chop this finely. I'm just picking some bits off. Bushcrafting it. That's the thing with these, although the recipes are there to make it really easy for you, you can tweak them. Like these potatoes say to go in the oven, but I've not got an oven, so I'm just pan frying them, although they will still be really good. See the potatoes just starting to toast, look. Very nice. I'm going to call that done. There's the lamb. You're not getting much better camp food than that. Right, the finishing touch. Apparently you drizzle over this salsa verde. Should have tasted it first, shouldn't I? But to be fair, everything that we've had so far has been phenomenal. The Valentine's Day one, steak, surf and turf. It was steak, king prawns with miso vegetables. It was phenomenal. Let's have a look at the lamb. Oh, still a little bit pink in the middle as well. Happy days. That lamb and the salsa verdes, superb. So HelloFresh, they've done me a deal. If you use the code HelloPaul60, you'll get 60% off your first box that you order, and then 25% off the next 2 boxes. So you'll be getting a hell of a lot of food for a very good price. And that offers for new people and if you've used HelloFresh before and cancelled. I'll leave a link to all the details in the description below. And thanks again HelloFresh for sponsoring this one. Empty plate, tasty food, and if you like to keep track of your calories, that was under 600. Time to wash up. Bit of kitchen roll on these pans does the job. Can use a little bit of water if you want. I don't bother with washing up liquid. And then I've got a little tiny, like a scratch-proof scouring pad. You know, for really stubborn things that you want to get off. I'm liking the tent so far. Beading nicely. So this is polyester, I think. So it shouldn't stretch when it gets wet, like sil nylon does. Good morning. Need a coffee. Well, that's gonna put hairs on my chest. I don't like it runny, but you can slice that. So to summarise, whenever you're cooking in your tent, you need to consider a few things. So make sure your stove is on a stable base, so it's not going to fall over. The flame is nowhere near the fly sheet. When you switch it on, you need adequate ventilation. So have the doors open a little bit, or if you've got a big vent like this, that's even better. If you can, you're better off cooking outside or with your door fully open. Think about what kind of stove you're going to use. So gas stoves and alcohol stoves, they don't produce a huge amount of carbon monoxide. You definitely don't want to be using any sort of barbecue or wood stove inside your tent unless it's a specific tent wood stove with a chimney that's going to get rid of all the fumes. And even then I take a carbon monoxide detector with me just to be safe. So these kind of stoves where you can invert the gas canister, they can sometimes cause your stove to flare up. So what is normally a flame of 3 or 4 inches can suddenly become 8-10 inches, so you'll soon be in the territory of burning your fly sheet. If you can, get a stove that's got a micro regulator built in, and that will keep a constant flow of gas. And just be careful, you're usually pitched on uneven ground, so everything's a bit rocky and unstable. Be careful where you're placing hot pans, so don't put them directly onto your ground sheet, and watch out for sharp points on pot supports. They can do quite a lot of damage to your tent and your inflatable pad and things like that. So be careful, it's quite straightforward to use a stove and cook inside your tent. I'm going to finish this flapjack or whatever it is, get packed up, and I'll see you next time.